Money flows to those who do this. Have you ever noticed something strange? Two people can earn the same salary. One is always broke. The other keeps growing wealthier after year. They shop in the same markets. They face the same economy. They deal with the same rising prices. Yet their financial futures look completely different. Why? Is money unfair? Does luck choose favorites? Or is there something that wealthy people understand that most people never discover? Here's a truth that may change the way you think forever. Money rarely stays where it is wasted. Money rarely grows where it is ignored. But money has a remarkable way of flowing toward people who consistently develop the habits that create value, seize opportunities, and make wise decisions. This isn't about becoming rich overnight. It isn't about gambling. It isn't about chasing shortcuts. It's about understanding timeless principles that have quietly helped ordinary people build extraordinary financial lives. By the end of this video, you may never look at money the same way again. Because the biggest obstacle between most people and financial freedom isn't their income. It's their mindset and the choices they make every single day. Stay with me until the end, because the final lesson is the one many successful people wish they had learned much earlier in life. Let's begin. Introduction. Money is one of the most misunderstood things in the world. Many people spend years asking, "How can I make more money?" But very few ask, "What kind of person naturally attracts more opportunities?" Think about it. A farmer doesn't stand in an empty field demanding a harvest. He prepares the soil. He plants the seed. He waters it faithfully. He removes the weeds. Then, in time, the harvest comes. Money works in a similar way. It often follows preparation. It follows discipline. It follows trust. It follows value. It follows people who are ready to manage it wisely. Throughout this journey, you'll discover 10 powerful principles that explain why money seems to flow towards certain people. Each chapter includes a story that reveals these principles in action. Stories of ordinary people who changed their lives through consistent choices rather than instant success. If you're ready to change your financial future, let's begin with the first and perhaps the most important lesson. Chapter 1. Money flows to people who create value. Imagine walking into a busy marketplace. Hundreds of people are selling something. Some leave with empty hands. Others sell out before noon. Why? Because the businesses solving real problems are the ones people return to. Money follows value. This lesson is illustrated by the story of a young man named David. David grew up in a small town where jobs were scarce. Every evening, he sat outside his family's modest home watching people hurry past, wondering why some families always seemed to have enough while others constantly struggled. One afternoon, he met an elderly carpenter named Mr. Samuel. David asked, "Sir, what's the fastest way to become rich?" The old carpenter smiled without answering. Instead, he handed David a rough piece of wood and said, "Make this useful." David tried carving it into a spoon. It broke. He tried again. It looked crooked. He wanted to quit. But Mr. Samuel encouraged him to keep practicing. Weeks turned into months. Slowly, David's work improved. People began buying his wooden spoons, bowls, and chairs. Then restaurants placed larger orders. Hotels wanted handcrafted furniture. Soon, he was teaching others the same skills. One evening, David returned to thank the old carpenter. "I finally understand," he said. "I wasn't getting paid for my time alone. I was getting paid for the value I created." Mr. Samuel nodded. "Exactly. Money is often a reward for solving problems well. The more people you help, the more opportunities tend to come your way." David's life changed because he stopped asking, "How can I get money?" Instead, he began asking, "How can I become so useful that people are happy to pay for what I do?" That single shift transformed his future. And it can transform yours too. Every skill you learn, every problem you solve, every person you help, is a seed that can grow into future opportunities. The question isn't only, "How much do you earn today?" The better question is, "How valuable are you becoming?" Because value attracts opportunity, and opportunity often attracts money. End of Chapter 1. Chapter 2. Money flows to people who take responsibility. There is a sentence that separates people who remain stuck from those who steadily move forward. One group says, "The economy is bad. Nobody is helping me. Life is unfair." The other group says, "What can I do with what I have?" The first group waits. The second group acts. Money rarely rewards excuses. It often rewards responsibility. Responsibility doesn't mean life is always fair. It means choosing to focus on what you can control instead of what you cannot. That choice changes everything. Story: The brothers who chose different paths. There were two brothers named Michael and Joseph. They grew up in the same small neighborhood. Their father worked long hours but struggled to provide for the family. When their father lost his job, the entire household faced difficult times. Both brothers felt the pain. Both saw empty cupboards. Both heard their parents worrying late into the night. Years later, they both finished school and began searching for work. Whenever Michael was rejected, he blamed someone else. "The companies are corrupt. The government doesn't care. The rich only help themselves." Every rejection became another excuse to stop trying. Joseph also faced rejection. He received dozens of no answers. Some days he walked for hours under the hot sun looking for opportunities. He was discouraged. He was tired. He was disappointed. But every evening he asked himself one question: what can I improve before tomorrow? He learned to use a computer at a local learning center. He watched free educational videos. He practiced speaking confidently. He volunteered for small jobs just to gain experience. Months later, a business owner noticed his attitude. The salary wasn't impressive, but Joseph accepted it. He worked hard. He learned everything he could. Within 3 years, he had been promoted several times. Eventually, he started a small business of his own. Meanwhile, Michael was still waiting for the perfect opportunity. One evening, the brothers met again. Michael looked at Joseph's progress and asked, "Why does everything always work out for you?" Joseph smiled gently. "It didn't work out because life was easier for me. It worked out because every time life knocked me down, I decided to stand back up. I stopped waiting for someone to rescue me. I became responsible for the future I wanted." Those words stayed with Michael for a long time. For the first time, he realized something. Blaming the world had never improved his situation. Taking responsibility could. The lesson: responsibility is powerful because it shifts your attention from problems you cannot control to actions you can take today. You may not control where you were born. You may not control the economy. You may not control unexpected setbacks. But you can control your attitude, your willingness to learn, your discipline, your honesty, your effort, your consistency. Every successful person eventually reaches a moment when excuses no longer serve them. That is often the moment their lives begin to change. Money tends to flow toward people others can depend on. Employers trust them. Customers trust them. Business partners trust them. Responsibility builds trust. Trust creates opportunity. And opportunity often creates income. So ask yourself today, are you spending more time explaining why you can't? Or finding ways that you can? Because your future is not built by excuses. It is built by the decisions you make when nobody is watching. In the next chapter, you'll discover why money often flows toward people who never stop learning, even when they have very little to begin with. Chapter 3. Money flows to people who never stop learning. There is one investment that no thief can steal. No fire can burn. No economic crisis can completely destroy. That investment is knowledge. Money comes and goes. Businesses rise and fall. Jobs change. Technology changes. But the knowledge you gain can help you rebuild again and again. Many people spend years hoping for better opportunities while refusing to learn new skills. Successful people understand something different. The more valuable your knowledge becomes, the more valuable you become. And the more valuable you become, the more opportunities you are likely to attract. Knowledge opens doors that money alone cannot. Story: The boy who borrowed books instead of money. In a quiet town lived a young man named Daniel. Daniel dreamed of becoming financially successful, but his family could barely afford 3 meals a day. One afternoon, he walked past a large bookstore. He stared through the glass, wishing he could buy every book inside. But he had no money. For a moment, he felt defeated. "I guess learning is only for rich people," he whispered to himself. An elderly woman standing nearby overheard him. She smiled and said, "Young man, knowledge doesn't always belong to those who can buy books. Sometimes it belongs to those who are willing to look for it." She directed him to a small community library. The building was old. Some shelves were dusty. The chairs were worn out. But inside were hundreds of books waiting to be opened. Daniel made a promise to himself. Every morning before work, he would spend 1 hour reading. At first, it was difficult. Many words were unfamiliar. Some books were hard to understand. But he refused to quit. Weeks became months. Months became years. He learned about communication, leadership, business, saving, investing, sales, human psychology. Most importantly, he learned how successful people think. One day, the owner of a small company visited the library. He noticed Daniel taking careful notes. Curious, he asked, "What are you studying so seriously?" Daniel smiled. "I'm studying the future I want to create." The owner laughed. "I like that answer." They talked for nearly an hour. Impressed by Daniel's attitude and knowledge, the owner offered him an entry-level position. Daniel accepted. He worked hard. He continued learning after work every evening. Whenever the company introduced new technology, Daniel volunteered to master it first. Whenever there was a difficult project, he stepped forward. Promotion after promotion followed. Years later, Daniel became one of the company's directors. At an awards ceremony, a reporter asked him, "What was your greatest investment?" The audience expected him to mention land, stocks, or a successful business. Instead, Daniel smiled. "My greatest investment cost almost nothing. It was the decision to keep learning, even when I had very little." The room fell silent, because everyone understood. His wealth had begun long before his bank account changed. It began the day his mind changed. The lesson: many people pray for bigger opportunities. But opportunities often require bigger skills. Imagine someone gives you 10 million Nigerian nairas to manage a business today. Would you know what to do? If not, the problem isn't only money. The problem is preparation. Preparation creates confidence. Confidence creates action. Action creates results. And results create opportunities. Every book you read, every useful skill you learn, every mistake you study, every mentor you listen to, is quietly preparing you for doors that have not yet opened. Never stop learning, because the world never stops changing. The person who grows the most often earns the most, not overnight, but steadily over time. Remember this: your income may rise to match the value you consistently provide. So invest in your mind every single day. Because money often follows people who are prepared when opportunity finally knocks. Transition to Chapter 4. Now that you've discovered why learning attracts opportunity, the next lesson reveals something many people overlook. It's possible to earn a good income and still remain poor. Why? Because earning money is one skill, but managing money is another. In the next chapter, you'll hear the unforgettable story of a man who earned more every year but never seemed to move forward, and the simple habit that finally changed his financial future. Chapter 4. Money flows to people who respect every naira. Many people believe the secret to wealth is earning more. But here's a truth that surprises many people. You can earn a high income and still have nothing. Money doesn't disappear because it hates people. It often disappears because it is not given a purpose. Every naira that enters your hand asks one question: where do you want me to go? If you don't answer that question, Someone else will. Advertisements will answer it. Impulse buying will answer it. Unnecessary spending will answer it. Before you know it, the money you worked so hard to earn is gone. Wealth is not built only by making money. It is built by managing money wisely. People who respect small amounts are often trusted with larger amounts. People who waste small amounts often struggle to keep larger ones. Story: The Two Friends and the Envelope. Two close friends, Emmanuel and Isaac, got jobs at the same company on the same day. They earned exactly the same salary. Every payday, they celebrated together. But they had very different habits. As soon as Emmanuel received his salary, he spent freely. The newest clothes, the latest phone accessories, expensive dinners. If his friends invited him somewhere, he never wanted to say no. By the middle of the month, he was already borrowing money. He would tell himself, "Next month will be different." But it never was. Isaac had a different routine. On payday, before spending a single naira, he took out 5 envelopes. On the first envelope he wrote, "Needs." The second, "Savings." The third, "Learning." The fourth, "Family." The fifth, "Opportunities." His friends laughed at him. "What difference can a few naira make?" Isaac smiled and replied, "I'm not just managing money. I'm managing my future." Months passed, then years. One rainy season, Emmanuel lost his job. He had no savings. Bills piled up. He sold his television, then his generator, then his motorcycle. Every day became a struggle. Around the same time, Isaac also lost his job. But his story was different. Because he had consistently saved and planned, he wasn't desperate. He had enough to pay his rent, enough to feed his family, enough time to look for the right opportunity instead of accepting the first one out of fear. A few months later, he used part of his savings to start a small business. It wasn't glamorous. It was a modest shop selling household essentials. He treated every customer with respect. The business grew steadily. 5 years later, Emmanuel visited Isaac. He looked around the thriving business and asked quietly, "How did you become so successful?" Isaac smiled. "It didn't happen the day I opened this shop. It began years earlier, the day I decided to give every naira a job." Emmanuel lowered his head. He finally understood. Small daily decisions had created 2 completely different futures. The lesson: many people think financial freedom begins when they earn more. Often, it begins when they manage what they already have. This doesn't mean you should never enjoy your money. It means enjoying it wisely. Spend intentionally. Save consistently. Avoid buying things just to impress people who aren't paying your bills. Remember, a small leak can sink a great ship. Likewise, small careless spending, repeated every day, can quietly destroy big dreams. On the other hand, small wise decisions, repeated consistently, can build a future that once seemed impossible. Ask yourself today, when your next income arrives, will you tell your money where to go? Or will you wonder where it went? Because money often flows toward people who respect every naira they earn. Transition to Chapter 5. The next lesson is one of the hardest for many people to accept. It asks you to do something uncomfortable, to delay pleasure today, so you can enjoy greater freedom tomorrow. In the next chapter, you'll hear the moving story of a young woman who gave up short-term comfort, endured years of sacrifice, and discovered that patience can become one of the greatest wealth-building habits of all. Chapter 5. Money flows to people who choose discipline over comfort. We live in a world that celebrates. Right now. Buy it now. Eat it now. Spend it now. Enjoy it now. But wealth is rarely built on the habit of wanting everything immediately. It is built by people who can say one powerful word. Later. Later, I'll buy the expensive car. Later, I'll upgrade my phone. Later, I'll reward myself. Not because they don't enjoy life, but because they understand that today's discipline can become tomorrow's freedom. Discipline is difficult at first. But regret is often much more painful. Money has a strange habit. It often stays longer with people who can control their desires than with people who cannot. Story: The Woman Who Said Not Yet. There was a young woman named Grace. She had just landed her first well-paying job. On her first payday, she felt unstoppable. Her friends immediately began making plans. "Let's celebrate! You deserve a new phone. You've worked so hard. Buy yourself something expensive." Grace was tempted. She walked into a large electronics store. She held the newest smartphone in her hands. It was beautiful. The salesperson smiled and said, "You can even pay in installments." For several minutes, Grace imagined herself leaving the store with the phone. But then she remembered something her late father had told her before he passed away. He used to say, "Never let today's excitement steal tomorrow's peace." Grace slowly placed the phone back on the shelf. She smiled politely and walked away. Her friends laughed. "You're too serious. You only live once." Months turned into a year. While many of her friends upgraded phones, bought designer clothes, and lived from paycheck to paycheck, Grace quietly saved and learned about business. Every month she invested part of her income. Some months were difficult. Sometimes she wanted to give up. Sometimes she wondered if she was missing out on life. Then something unexpected happened. The company where she worked announced major layoffs. Many employees panicked. Some had loans they couldn't repay. Others had no savings at all. Grace felt concerned, but not helpless. Because of her discipline, she had enough savings to cover her expenses for several months. Instead of rushing into another job, she used part of her savings to open a small bakery. The first week, she sold only a few loaves of bread. She questioned herself. Did I make the wrong decision? But she kept showing up. She improved her recipes. She listened to customers. She arrived before sunrise every morning. Word spread. People began recommending her bakery. Soon there were long lines outside her shop every weekend. 3 years later, Grace owned 3 bakery branches and employed dozens of people. One afternoon, one of her old friends visited. Looking around the busy bakery, she smiled and asked, "Grace, when did you become lucky?" Grace laughed softly. "Lucky?" She pointed toward an old framed photo hanging on the wall. It was a picture of her first tiny bakery. "I wasn't lucky. I simply kept saying not yet when everyone else kept saying right now." Her friend stood quietly. For the first time, she understood. The little sacrifices Grace made years ago had become the foundation of the life she was living today. The lesson: discipline isn't about living a miserable life. It's about making wise choices consistently. Every time you resist an unnecessary expense, every time you save before spending, every time you invest in your future instead of chasing temporary pleasure, you are casting a vote for the life you want tomorrow. Remember this. Successful people don't become disciplined after they become wealthy. Many become wealthy because they practiced discipline long before anyone noticed. Ask yourself, what comfort am I holding on to today that might be keeping me from a better future? What small sacrifice could create a greater reward later? Because every wise decision you make today becomes a brick in the foundation of your future. Money often flows toward people who can delay temporary pleasure in order to build lasting freedom. Transition to Chapter 6. The next lesson may surprise you. Many people believe hard work alone creates wealth. Hard work is important. But there is something equally powerful. It's called trust. In the next chapter, you'll discover why money often flows to people whose character makes others confident to work with them, buy from them, and recommend them. And you'll hear the unforgettable story of a shopkeeper whose honesty changed his entire life. Chapter 6. Money flows to people who earn trust. There is something more valuable than money. It is something you cannot buy in a supermarket. You cannot borrow it from a bank. And you cannot fake it forever. It is trust. Trust is invisible. Yet it opens doors that qualifications alone cannot. People buy from those they trust. Employers promote those they trust. Investors partner with those they trust. Friends recommend those they trust. When trust grows, opportunities grow. And when opportunities grow, money often follows. Character may not pay you today, but over time, it can become one of your greatest financial assets. Story: The shopkeeper who returned the extra money. In a busy town lived a humble shopkeeper named Adebayo. His shop wasn't the biggest. It wasn't the most beautiful. In fact, there were many larger stores nearby. Some people wondered how his small shop managed to survive. Every morning before sunrise, Adebayo would sweep the front of his shop. He greeted every customer with a smile. Whether someone bought a loaf of bread or a full basket of groceries, he treated them with the same respect. One afternoon, an elderly woman visited his shop. She bought a few household items and paid quickly before leaving. As Adebayo counted the money, he realized she had mistakenly given him 20,000 Nigerian nairas instead of 2,000 Nigerian nairas. For a moment he stood still. No one had noticed. He could have kept the money. Business had been slow that week. His own rent was due. His children needed school supplies. The temptation was real. But after a few seconds he locked his shop and ran down the street searching for the woman. After several minutes he found her boarding a bus. Breathing heavily, he called out, "Madam! Please wait!" She turned around, confused. Adebayo handed her the extra 18,000 Nigerian nairas. "You accidentally gave me too much." The woman's eyes filled with tears. "My son," she whispered. "I didn't even realize it." She thanked him repeatedly before leaving. Adebayo returned to his shop, thinking nothing more of it. A week later, a black SUV stopped outside his store. A well-dressed gentleman stepped out. "I've been looking for you," he said. Adebayo looked puzzled. The man smiled. "The woman you helped is my mother. She couldn't stop talking about your honesty. I own several supermarkets. I need someone I can trust to manage one of my new branches." Adebayo was speechless. The man continued, "I can teach business. I can train skills. But honesty, that's much harder to teach." Months later, Adebayo became the branch manager. Years later, he became a business partner. His income multiplied many times over. Not because he chased money, but because he protected something even more valuable: his integrity. The lesson: many people think success is about being the smartest person in the room. But intelligence without integrity rarely creates lasting success. Your reputation follows you wherever you go. People are always watching. Not only when you succeed, but especially when no one seems to be watching. Every promise you keep, every honest decision you make, every time you admit a mistake, every time you choose what is right instead of what is easy, you are building trust. And trust is like planting seeds. You may not see the harvest immediately, but one day, those seeds can grow into opportunities you never imagined. Ask yourself today, if someone had to recommend one person for a life-changing opportunity, would your name come to their mind? Would they say, "I trust that person"? Because in business, in employment, in leadership, and even in friendships, trust is a currency that never loses its value. Money often flows toward people whose character gives others confidence. So protect your name. Guard your integrity. Keep your word. Because a good reputation can open doors that money alone never could. Transition to Chapter 7. The next lesson separates dreamers from achievers. Many people have brilliant ideas. Many people make wonderful plans. Many people wait for the perfect time. But while they are waiting, someone else is taking action. In the next chapter, you'll hear the inspiring story of a young man who stopped waiting for perfect conditions, took a small step with what he had, and discovered that action, not perfection, is often what causes money to begin flowing. Chapter 7. Money flows to people who take action. There is a silent dream killer that has stolen more opportunities than failure ever has. Its name is procrastination. It whispers, "Start tomorrow. Wait until you have more money. Wait until you know everything. Wait until the timing is perfect. But here's the truth. Perfect conditions rarely exist. The people who change their lives are usually not the ones who know the most. They are the ones who act on what they know. Every successful business, every successful career, every successful investment, every great achievement started with someone taking a small step before they felt completely ready. Money doesn't flow to ideas that stay inside notebooks. It flows to ideas that are put into action. Story: the young man who waited too long. There were two close friends named Samuel and Peter. Ever since they finished school, they talked endlessly about starting a business. Every evening they met under a mango tree near their neighborhood. Samuel would say, "One day we'll own a big company." Peter would smile, "And people will come from everywhere to buy from us." They had dreams. Big dreams. But every time they planned to start, Samuel found another reason to wait. "I need more capital. I need a better laptop. I need an office. I need the perfect logo. I need everything to be ready." Peter listened quietly. One day he said, "What if we start small?" Samuel laughed. "Small businesses never become successful." Peter didn't argue. Instead, he borrowed a small table from his uncle. He used his savings to buy a few products. His shop was nothing more than a wooden table by the roadside. People laughed at him. "Is this your big business? You call this success?" Some days he sold almost nothing. Other days he wondered if Samuel had been right. But every evening he learned something new. He learned which products customers wanted. He learned how to talk to people. He learned how to keep records. He learned how to treat customers with respect. Every mistake became a lesson. Every lesson made him better. Months passed. The wooden table became a kiosk. The kiosk became a small shop. The small shop became a supermarket. Years later, Peter owned several branches across different towns. One afternoon, Samuel visited one of the stores. He stood quietly, looking around at the busy customers. Finally, he asked, "Peter, how did you build all this?" Peter smiled. "I stopped waiting." Samuel lowered his head. "I had the same dream." Peter placed a hand on his friend's shoulder. "No, Samuel. You had the same idea. A dream only begins to change your life when your feet start moving." Those words pierced Samuel's heart. He realized that while he had been waiting for perfect conditions, Peter had been creating opportunities with imperfect ones. That very week, Samuel decided to stop delaying. He started with what little he had. His beginning wasn't perfect, but it was a beginning. And that made all the difference. The lesson? Many people believe they need confidence before taking action. In reality, confidence often comes after action. The first step may be frightening. The second step becomes easier. The third step builds momentum. Every action teaches you something that thinking alone never will. You don't need to know everything before you begin. You simply need to know enough to take the first responsible step. Remember this. A tiny seed does not become a mighty tree overnight. It grows because it keeps moving in the right direction. Your first attempt may not succeed. Your second may not either. But every attempt gives you experience. And experience is one of the greatest teachers money can never buy. So ask yourself today, what dream have I been postponing? What opportunity have I been delaying because I wanted everything to be perfect? What small action can I take today that my future self will thank me for? Never underestimate small beginnings. The biggest companies in the world once started as small ideas. The greatest journeys began with a single step. And many financially successful people began with very little, except the courage to start. Because money often flows to those who stop waiting and start doing. Transition to Chapter 8. The next lesson is one that quietly shapes your future every single day. You may not even notice it. Yet it has the power to lift you higher, or keep you where you are. It's the people you choose to spend your time with. In the next chapter, You'll hear the remarkable story of a young man whose life changed completely after one unexpected conversation, proving that sometimes one relationship can redirect an entire future. Chapter 8: Money flows to people who choose the right people. Take a moment and think about the 5 people you spend the most time with. What do they talk about? Do they discuss ideas? Or gossip? Do they encourage growth? Or make excuses? Do they celebrate your progress? Or secretly hope you stay where you are? Whether we realize it or not, the people around us shape the way we think. They influence our decisions, our habits, our confidence, and eventually, our financial future. You don't become successful simply because you know successful people. But being surrounded by people who challenge you to grow can change the direction of your life. Your circle can either become a ladder or an anchor. Story: one conversation that changed everything. There was a young man named Tund. He worked as a motorcycle mechanic in a small workshop. He was hardworking, honest, always on time. But every evening after work, he spent hours sitting with a group of friends. Their conversations were always the same. The rich are lucky. Nothing good ever happens here. Why try? Life is already decided. Day after day, month after month. Those words slowly became Tund's own beliefs. Without realizing it, he stopped dreaming. He stopped learning. He stopped expecting anything better. One rainy afternoon, a black SUV broke down near the workshop. An elderly businessman stepped out. Tund repaired the vehicle quickly. The businessman watched him carefully. "You work with great attention," he said. Tund smiled. "My father taught me that if you're going to do something, do it well." The businessman nodded. Before leaving, he handed Tund a business card. "If you ever want to learn about business, come and see me." For several days, Tund kept the card in his pocket. His friends laughed. "Forget that old man. People like us don't become businessmen. You're dreaming too much." For the first time in his life, Tund ignored their advice. The following Saturday, he visited the businessman. Instead of giving him money, the businessman gave him books. He taught him how to save, how to serve customers, how to keep proper records, how to build trust. Every weekend, Tund learned something new. Months later, he noticed something. His conversations were changing. Instead of talking about problems, he was talking about solutions. Instead of blaming others, he was improving himself. Eventually, he opened a small automobile service center. He treated every customer with honesty. When he didn't know something, he learned it. When he made a mistake, he admitted it. Satisfied customers kept returning. They brought friends. Those friends brought their families. Years passed. His small workshop grew into one of the most respected automobile service centers in the city. One day, Tund met his old friends again. They looked at his business in amazement. One of them asked, "Tund, what changed?" He smiled and replied, "I changed the voices I listened to. I stopped spending all my time with people who only complained. I started spending time with people who challenged me to become better." Then he added quietly, "Your future often begins to change the moment your environment changes." Those words stayed with his friends long after he walked away. The lesson: the people around you influence more than your mood. They influence your standards. If everyone around you quits easily, quitting begins to feel normal. If everyone around you wastes money, careless spending begins to feel normal. But when you're surrounded by people who learn, who build, who work with integrity, who dream bigger, you begin to believe that growth is possible for you too. This doesn't mean you should abandon your old friends. It means you should wisely choose whose advice shapes your future. Find people who inspire you. Learn from mentors. Read books written by people with experience. Listen to conversations that make you think bigger instead of smaller. Because your environment either feeds your potential or slowly drains it. Ask yourself today, who is helping me become the person I want to be? Who is pulling me away from my goals? What conversations am I feeding my mind every day? Remember, one encouraging voice can change a life. One wise mentor can change a future. One meaningful relationship can open doors that years of struggle never could. Money often flows toward people who intentionally surround themselves with wisdom, growth, and positive influence. Transition to Chapter 9. The next lesson is one of the most overlooked principles of financial success. Many people know how to earn money. Some even know how to save it. But very few know how to make money continue working for them. In the next chapter, you'll hear the inspiring story of a gardener who discovered that the greatest wealth doesn't come from spending every reward. It comes from planting seeds that keep producing long into the future. Chapter 9. Money flows to people who make their money work. Most people work for money. But financially wise people eventually learn something different. They also make their money work for them. Imagine planting a mango seed. If you eat the seed, your hunger may disappear for a day. But if you plant it, water it, protect it, one day it becomes a tree that produces fruit for years. Money works the same way. Every time you earn money, you have a choice. Spend all of it, or allow part of it to grow into something bigger. This doesn't happen overnight. It takes patience. It takes wisdom. It takes consistency. But over time, the rewards can be extraordinary. Story: the gardener who understood the secret. In a peaceful village lived a gardener named Musa. Every morning before sunrise, Musa walked through his small garden, caring for his vegetables and fruit trees. His harvest wasn't large, but it was enough to provide for his family. One day, his nephew Ibrahim came to visit. Uncle Musa had just sold a good harvest and received a decent amount of money. Ibrahim smiled and said, "Uncle, you've worked so hard. Why don't you spend it all? Buy yourself new clothes. Buy a bigger television. Enjoy life." Musa smiled. Instead of answering, he picked up 2 mangoes from a basket. He handed one to Ibrahim. Then he held the other in his own hand. "Eat yours," he said. Ibrahim quickly ate the sweet fruit. It was delicious. Then Musa carefully removed the seed from his mango. He walked outside and planted it in the ground. Ibrahim laughed. "Why didn't you eat the whole thing?" Musa smiled. "I did enjoy the fruit. But I refused to eat my future." Years passed. Ibrahim continued spending almost everything he earned. Whenever he received extra money, it disappeared within weeks. Meanwhile, every season Musa planted more seeds. Not only in his garden, but also in his finances. Whenever he earned money, he set aside a portion. He bought better farming tools. He expanded his land little by little. He learned new farming methods. He invested in irrigation during the dry season. Slowly, his small garden became a thriving farm. One afternoon, many years later, Ibrahim returned. He stood beneath the shade of a giant mango tree. "Uncle," he asked softly, "is this the same seed you planted years ago?" Musa nodded. "Yes." Ibrahim looked across the fields. There were workers harvesting fruit, trucks loading produce, customers arriving from nearby towns. Tears filled his eyes. "I thought you were just planting a seed." Musa placed a hand on his shoulder. "I wasn't planting a seed. I was planting tomorrow." Those words echoed in Ibrahim's heart. For the first time, he understood why some people seemed to grow wealthier after year. They didn't consume everything they received. They allowed part of it to grow. The lesson: every income you receive carries 2 possibilities. One part can meet today's needs. Another part can help build tomorrow. This doesn't require being wealthy before you start. It requires developing the habit of thinking beyond today. Before making a purchase, ask yourself, will this still matter in 5 years? Could part of this money help create future opportunities instead? Sometimes the wisest financial decision isn't buying more. It's building something that continues to produce value over time. Whether it's learning a new skill, starting a small business, saving consistently, or making thoughtful investments after careful research. The principle is the same. Plant seeds today that can produce fruit tomorrow. Remember this. A farmer never expects a harvest the same day he plants. He trusts the process. Watering, waiting, working, growing. Financial success often follows the same pattern. Small, wise decisions repeated consistently over many years can create remarkable results. So don't spend every harvest. Plant part of it. Protect part of it. Grow part of it. Because money often flows to people who don't simply earn. They build. Transition to Chapter 10. We've reached the final lesson. This is the principle that ties every chapter together. You can create value. You can keep learning. You can manage your money wisely. You can build trust. You can invest for the future. But without this final habit, it's difficult to sustain success. In the last chapter, you'll discover why gratitude, generosity, and a long-term mindset often open doors that money alone never can. And you'll hear the unforgettable story of a man who discovered that the richest people are not always those who have the most, but those who make the greatest impact on others. Chapter 10. Money flows to people who give more value than they take. We've reached the final chapter. If you've listened carefully, you may have noticed something. Not one chapter told you to chase money. Instead, every chapter encouraged you to become the kind of person who naturally attracts opportunities. Why? Because money is often a result, not the goal. The greatest businesses in the world became successful because they solved problems. The greatest leaders became influential because they served people. The greatest entrepreneurs built trust before they built wealth. When you focus only on taking, people eventually pull away. But when you focus on creating value, helping others, keeping your word, and leaving people better than you found them, money often follows. This is not about giving away everything you own. It is about living with a mindset of contribution instead of selfishness. Ask yourself every day, how can I make someone's life a little better today? That simple question can change your future. Story: The baker who never forgot the hungry child. In a quiet town lived a baker named Chinidu. He wasn't famous. He didn't own the biggest bakery. He simply loved making fresh bread every morning. Before sunrise, while most people were still asleep, Chinidu was already kneading dough. His customers loved him, not only because his bread tasted good, but because he treated everyone with kindness. One cold morning, as he opened his bakery, he noticed a little boy standing outside. The boy stared through the glass at the fresh loaves. His clothes were worn. His slippers were torn. His eyes revealed a hunger deeper than words could express. Chinidu walked outside. "My son," he asked gently, "have you eaten today?" The boy shook his head. "I was hoping someone might have leftovers." Without hesitation, Chinidu placed a warm loaf of bread into the boy's hands. The child looked surprised. "I don't have any money." Chinidu smiled. "I'm not selling this one. I'm sharing it." The boy smiled for the first time that day. "Thank you, sir." Then he disappeared into the crowd. Years passed. Business had its ups and downs. Some years were excellent. Others were difficult. Still, Chinidu never stopped treating people with kindness. He believed that doing the right thing was never wasted. One afternoon, a luxury car stopped outside his bakery. A well-dressed gentleman stepped out. He looked around the bakery with tears in his eyes. "Do you remember me?" he asked. Chinidu looked closely. "I'm sorry. I don't." The man smiled. "Many years ago, you gave a hungry little boy a loaf of bread. I was that boy." Chinidu's eyes widened. The man continued. "I never forgot your kindness. My mother and I survived that difficult season because of people like you. Today, I own several hotels across the country. We're looking for one bakery to supply fresh bread to every branch." He paused. "I came here because I trust your heart before I trust your bread." Chinidu was speechless. What seemed like one small act of kindness years earlier had become an opportunity beyond anything he imagined. The contract transformed his business. He hired more workers, opened new bakeries, created jobs for dozens of families. But whenever people congratulated him, he always smiled and said, "My biggest investment wasn't flour. It was the decision to treat people well." The lesson: life has a remarkable way of returning what we consistently give. When you become known as someone who is honest, reliable, generous, hardworking, and genuinely helpful, people remember you. They recommend you. They trust you. And trust creates opportunities. Remember, not every act of kindness will immediately lead to financial success. Not every good deed will bring instant rewards. But living with integrity and serving others well builds a reputation that money cannot buy. The wealthiest life is not measured only by the size of your bank account. It is also measured by the number of lives you positively influence. So wherever you are today, whether you're just starting your journey, building a business, learning a new skill, or working toward financial freedom, never forget this truth. Money is important, but character is priceless. Success without integrity is temporary. Wealth without purpose is empty. The people who build lasting financial success are often those who combine wisdom with humility, discipline with generosity, and ambition with service. Because in the end, money flows to those who create value. It flows to those who keep learning. It flows to those who take responsibility. It flows to those who respect every one Nigerian naira they earn. It flows to those who choose discipline over comfort. It flows to those who earn trust. It flows to those who take action. It flows to those who surround themselves with the right people. It flows to those who plant seeds for the future. And above all, money flows to those who leave the world better than they found it. Thank you for staying until the end of this journey. If this message inspired you, don't let it end here. Choose just one principle from this video and begin practicing it today. A year from now, your life could look completely different, not because of luck, but because of the small, wise decisions you made consistently. Remember, your future is created by what you do today. And as always, master your mind. Transform your life. Thank you for watching Psychology of Success. If this video brought you value, subscribe, like, and share it with someone who is committed to growth. Remember, success is not something you find, it's something you build, one decision at a time. Because the future belongs to those who take action today. Master your mind. Transform your life. I'll see you in the next lesson.